The forest was silent but not peaceful. The silence felt heavy, like the whole planet was holding its breath. A human man, bruised and tired, pushed himself up from the ground. Smoke rose in the distance where his small ship had crashed. Sparks still burned in the twisted metal. His head hurt, his clothes were torn, but he was alive. He looked around. Tall black trees rose into the sky, their branches sharp like claws. Strange blue mist moved between them. The air smelled of iron and ash. Every sound seemed too loud, every step on the soil echoed like thunder. He was alone, or at least he thought he was. Then a small voice came from the shadows. "Human, don't leave us," the man froze. His hand went to his side, searching for a weapon, but his blaster was gone, lost in the crash. He turned slowly, his heart beating fast. From the dark mist, 4 small figures stepped forward. They were children, but not human children. Their skin glowed faintly, like starlight under the night sky. Their eyes were large and full of fear. Their clothes were torn, dirty and old, as if they had been running for days. The oldest of them, a boy with silver markings on his face, raised his hands. "Please," he said, his voice shaking. "Don't leave us, human. We need you." The man stared in silence. He had traveled many worlds, seen many strange beings, but never had he seen children like these. They were fragile, scared, but there was something powerful about them too, something hidden deep inside. "Why?" the human asked, his voice low. "Why me?" Before the children could answer, a distant sound rolled across the forest. A low growl, metallic and sharp, like engines mixed with animals. The youngest child, a girl no older than 5, grabbed the human's hand with tiny glowing fingers. "They are coming," she whispered. Her voice was full of terror. "The hunters." The man's chest tightened. He looked into the forest, and for a moment he saw them, shapes moving fast between the trees, shadows with red eyes watching, waiting. His instincts screamed that danger was close. The second child, a thin boy with golden eyes, spoke quickly. "Hunters want us. They will kill us. They will take our heads for credits. We cannot fight them alone. Please, human, help us." The human's mind raced. Bounty hunters, credits, that explained the red eyes. He had heard rumors in spaceports about strange bounties worth millions, but he had never cared. Now the rumors stood in front of him, shaking with fear. He took a step back. "You don't know me. Why do you think I would help?" The oldest child looked straight into his eyes. His voice was soft, but it carried weight. "Because you are human. Hunters fear humans. They say humans never give up. We need someone who will not leave us." The forest growl came again, louder this time. The trees shook as something heavy moved closer. The youngest child held tighter to the man's hand. Tears rolled down her glowing cheeks. "Please," she begged. "Don't leave us, human." The man swallowed hard. He had always been a wanderer, never staying in one place, never carrying responsibility. He had survived by thinking only of himself. But now, in the middle of a dead forest, 4 small lives were looking at him as if he was their only hope. Behind them, the mist shifted. Red eyes flickered in the dark, closer now, circling like wolves. A metallic screech echoed through the trees. The human clenched his jaw. He didn't know why, but something inside him refused to walk away. "Stay close," he said at last, his voice firm. "Stay quiet. If they want you, they will have to go through me first." The children's faces lit up with fragile hope. The oldest nodded. The golden-eyed boy held his sister, and the youngest would not let go of his hand. But the forest was already alive with hunters. Shapes moved faster now, red eyes glowing like fireflies of death. The sound of metal claws scraped against stone. The human felt his heart hammer in his chest. He was unarmed, alone, and protecting 4 children with nothing but his will. Still he stood tall, because in that moment he realized something. Maybe fate had crashed his ship here for a reason. Maybe these children were not just running from hunters. Maybe they were running toward him. And as the mist grew darker and the hunters closed in, one thought burned inside his mind. This was only the beginning. The night was endless, and the forest felt alive with danger. Every shadow moved, every sound carried a threat. The human kept the children close as they hurried through the mist away from the red-eyed hunters. At last they reached a rocky cliff that overlooked a valley. Strange glowing plants lit the ground below in pale blue light. The air was heavy and wet, and far away engines still roared in the distance. The human sat on a stone, breathing hard. His body was tired, but his mind was restless. 4 alien children huddled beside him, their eyes wide and watchful. The oldest boy, the one with silver marks across his face, finally spoke. His voice was calm, but there was weight in every word. They will not stop, human. They will chase us across this world and the next. Hunters never stop when credits are this high. The man turned his head. Credits? The boy nodded slowly. Millions. A price too high to ignore. Our heads, our lives, are worth more than fleets of ships. Any hunter who finds us will become rich beyond measure. The human felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He had heard of bounties, yes, but never one this large. He looked at the children, thin, scared, exhausted. They didn't look like creatures worth millions of credits. They looked like orphans, lost and broken. Why? He asked. Why would anyone pay so much for children? The second boy, the one with golden eyes, answered. His voice was quick, nervous. Because we are the last. The last of our blood. Our families are gone. Only us remain, the human frowned. And that makes you worth millions? The golden-eyed boy looked down, ashamed. The youngest girl, still holding tightly to the man's sleeve, spoke softly. We have power. Not strength of arms, not weapons, but something older. Something they fear and want to control. The human studied them closely. He remembered how the smallest girl's fingers had glowed when she touched him. He remembered how one of them seemed to sense danger before it came. He began to understand. You mean abilities? The children nodded. The oldest boy's eyes shone with a strange light. Our kind were protectors once, leaders. We carried gifts no other race carried. But now hunters and warlords see us as prizes. Whoever controls us controls power that can change galaxies. The human's jaw tightened. He understood the hunters now. To them, the children were not lives. They were weapons. The golden-eyed boy leaned closer, desperation in his voice. You are human. Hunters fear humans. They say humans never give up. They say humans fight even when hope is gone. That is why we came to you. The man shook his head slowly. You don't know me. I am no hero. I barely survived that crash. You want the wrong man. The youngest girl's grip on his sleeve tightened. Her small glowing eyes filled with tears. No, we want you. You did not leave us. Others left. You stayed. The human turned away, staring into the misty valley. His heart was heavy. He had spent his life running from duty, living for himself alone. And now 4 lives wanted to tie themselves to him. It felt like a chain and a burden. But before he could answer, a strange hum filled the air. The children gasped. The human rose to his feet, ready to run, but the hum was not a hunter's engine. It was different, softer, almost musical. From the sky, a small drone descended, glowing faintly. It carried a sphere of light, projecting an image into the air. A figure appeared in the hologram, tall, armored, and cold. A hunter leader. His voice was smooth, but sharp as a blade. Human, the voice said. We know you survived the crash. We know you found the children. You have a choice. The human narrowed his eyes, saying nothing. The hologram continued. Deliver them to us, and you will be rich beyond dreams. Millions of credits will be yours. A new ship. A life of luxury. No one will ever trouble you again. The youngest child whimpered and hid behind the man's leg. The oldest boy stood firm, glaring at the hologram. And if I don't? The human asked at last. The hunter's image smiled without warmth. Then you die with them, slowly, painfully, and we will still take what we came for. The hologram flickered out. The drone vanished into the night. Silence fell again. Only the sound of the children's shaky breathing filled the air. The human's mind raced. The offer was tempting. More credits than he could imagine, enough to escape this cursed life of drifting. But he looked at the 4 faces staring at him. Faces tired, scared, but filled with hope. Hope placed in him. He exhaled slowly. The choice was not simple, but deep inside he already knew the answer. He turned to the children. We move at first light. If hunters want you, they'll have to hunt me too. The children's eyes widened, and for the first time the faintest smiles appeared on their faces. The human didn't smile back. He only looked into the forest where red eyes still waited and whispered to himself, Millions of credits. But they think I'll sell them? Not a chance, because even if he wasn't a hero, he knew he couldn't walk away. The night stretched long, but morning never seemed to come. The human and the children had hidden inside a cave at the base of the cliff. Cold air whispered through the cracks and water dripped slowly from the rocks above. The children huddled together for warmth. The youngest girl slept lightly with her tiny hand still holding the man's sleeve. The human sat near the cave's mouth, his eyes sharp, watching the mist outside. He had not slept. He could not afford to. Every so often he saw red lights moving in the forest, search drones scanning the ground. Hunters were closing in. The oldest boy with silver marks finally broke the silence. "They will find us, human. It is only a matter of time." The man's voice was low but steady. "Then we keep moving. We don't give them the chance." Before he could rise, the golden-eyed boy tensed. His head tilted, listening. "They are close. I can feel them," the human frowned. "Feel them?" The boy nodded quickly. "I sense danger before it comes. I always have. They are hunting us now. We must go." The human did not doubt him. He stood, checking the shadows outside. "Stay quiet. Stay behind me." They slipped out of the cave and moved through the forest. Mist curled around their legs as strange glowing plants bent toward them like watching eyes. The human led, scanning for paths while the children stayed close. But soon the sound came. Footsteps. Heavy metal echoing through the ground. The youngest girl gasped softly. "They are here." Shapes appeared in the fog, tall, armored hunters, their helmets glowing red. Blasters hummed in their hands. Drones buzzed above them, shining beams of light through the trees. The human's chest tightened. There were too many. Running was the only choice. "Move," he hissed. The children obeyed, their small feet racing behind him. The hunters shouted, their voices mechanical. Blaster shots cracked through the air, burning holes into trees. Sparks flew as branches exploded. The chase had begun. The human grabbed the children and pulled them down narrow paths, weaving between sharp rocks and twisted roots. The hunters followed, their heavy boots shaking the ground. "Faster," the man urged, but danger struck quickly. One of the drones spotted them and let out a piercing alarm. The sound echoed through the valley, guiding all hunters toward them. Blaster fire lit the night. The children screamed as energy bolts struck close, throwing dirt into the air. The human shielded them with his body, forcing them forward. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he did not stop. Then disaster came. The youngest boy stumbled on a root and fell, crying out. A glowing stone slipped from his hand and clattered on the ground, its light bouncing across the forest floor. The hunters saw it instantly. "There," one shouted. Beams of red light targeted the children. The human reacted without thinking. He grabbed the stone, pulled the boy to his feet, and shoved him forward. Blaster fire screamed past his head, close enough to burn his skin. "Run!" he shouted. They darted into a canyon, the stone walls closing in around them. The sound of hunters grew louder, echoing off the stone. The human's mind raced. They could not outrun them forever. They needed a way to disappear. Then he saw it, a broken tunnel in the canyon wall, half covered by vines. Without a word, he pulled the vines aside and pushed the children inside. "In here. Quickly!" The children crawled in one by one. The human followed last, pulling the vines back to hide the entrance. The tunnel was narrow and dark, filled with damp air. They moved slowly, their hands scraping along the cold walls. Outside, the hunters stormed past, their heavy boots shaking the ground. Voices echoed through the canyon, angry and sharp. Drones scanned, beams of light sweeping dangerously close to the tunnel entrance. The children held their breath. Even the youngest girl stayed silent, though her tiny hands trembled in fear. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the hunters moved away, their sounds fading into the distance. The tunnel was safe for now. The human let out a slow breath of relief. He turned to the children. Their faces were pale, eyes wide with terror, but the oldest boy's voice was steady. "You saved us again," the man shook his head. "Not for long. They won't stop until they have you," the golden-eyed boy whispered. "They never stop." The human looked at them, 4 fragile lives depending on him. His body was tired, his mind heavy, but one truth grew inside him. They needed more than escape. They needed a plan, because the first chase was only the beginning. The tunnel stretched on for miles, twisting like the veins of the earth. The human and the children walked carefully, their steps echoing softly in the damp dark. Drops of water fell from the ceiling, each sound sharp against the silence. For the first time since the crash, there was no sign of hunters. No red eyes. No buzzing drones. Only darkness. The youngest girl clung to the human's arm, her glowing fingers faintly lighting the path. The man glanced down at her hand, remembering how her touch had burned warm against his skin. He finally spoke, his voice low. "What are you? What makes you worth so much?" The children exchanged glances. The silver-marked boy, always the calmest, answered, "It is time you know. You saved us twice now. You deserve the truth." The group stopped in a small chamber where the tunnel widened. Strange crystals jutted out of the walls, glowing with pale blue light. The glow made the children's skin shine brighter, like stars come alive. The golden-eyed boy stepped forward first. He held up his hand, and the crystals in the walls began to hum softly, responding to him. "I can feel danger," he whispered. "Not just see it. Not just hear it. I feel it before it comes. That is why I knew the hunters were close." The human raised an eyebrow. "Some kind of sixth sense?" The boy nodded. Then the silver-marked leader lifted his palm. The crystals around him glowed brighter. A soft wave of energy pulsed through the chamber, making the air warmer. "I can guide energy. I can bend it. Heal wounds. Stop bleeding. My gift is to protect." The human's eyes narrowed. He remembered his aching ribs from the crash. "Could you heal me?" The boy stepped closer, pressing his glowing hand against the man's side. Warmth spread through him. The pain eased. The bruises faded as if time itself had been pushed away. The man inhaled sharply. "That's impossible." The silver-marked boy shook his head. "It is our blood." The youngest girl, still holding his sleeve, spoke next. Her small voice trembled, but her eyes glowed with courage. "I can bring light. I can break shadows. I can make darkness run." To prove it, she spread her hands. A soft sphere of white light formed between her palms, pushing back the gloom of the chamber. The walls glistened like glass. Finally, the fourth child, a quiet boy who had spoken little until now, stepped forward. His clothes were torn and his face pale, but his eyes were deep, holding secrets older than the stars. In his small hands he carried a crystal unlike the others, a black shard that seemed to swallow light instead of giving it. He looked at the human with a calm, heavy gaze. "My gift is not safe. I can make others see things that are not real. Illusions, dreams, nightmares." The shard pulsed in his hand, and for a moment, the human saw shapes moving in the chamber, hunters with glowing eyes. He tensed, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. But then the shapes vanished. The boy's voice was quiet. "See, not real, but real enough to trick." The human's skin crawled. He looked at the four of them, children yet carrying powers that even grown warriors would kill for. Now he understood why hunters would never stop. They weren't chasing orphans. They were chasing weapons of legend. He rubbed his face with a tired hand. "So that's it. You're not just children, you're the last of something bigger." The silver-marked boy nodded. His eyes were sad. "We are the last of our line. Our parents died protecting us. They wanted us to live, not to be used. That is why we run." Silence filled the chamber. The human leaned against the wall, his mind heavy with thoughts. Four small faces looked at him, full of fear but also hope. Finally he spoke. "You should know something. Hunters sent me an offer. Millions of credits, more than I could ever dream of. They said if I gave you up, I could live like a king." The youngest girl's eyes filled with tears. Her small voice cracked. "And will you leave us?" The man looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head slowly. "No, I've made my choice. If hunters want you, they'll have to take me first." The children's shoulders relaxed. The golden-eyed boy even smiled faintly. For the first time, trust began to grow between them. But the human wasn't smiling. His eyes stayed on the dark tunnel beyond. He knew the hunters would come again, stronger, faster, and this time no hiding place would last. He whispered to himself, "Secrets this big don't stay hidden forever." And deep in the darkness, far away, something echoed back. Metal boots, marching closer. The hunters were not done, not even close. For 2 days they traveled through the endless tunnels and forests, always running, never resting long. The human guided the children by instinct, searching for safety. But deep inside he knew safety did not exist. The hunters were too many. Too clever, too determined, food was running low. The youngest girl's steps grew slower, and the golden-eyed boy's face grew pale from exhaustion. Even with the silver-marked boy's healing touch, they could not fight hunger and fear forever. Then, on the third night, they saw light in the distance. Not the red glow of hunters, but a softer, golden light. The human raised his hand, signaling the children to stop. They crouched low, watching carefully. In the valley below, a small campfire burned. Beside it sat a trader's ship, old, patched together but still working. A man sat by the fire, roasting strange alien roots on a spit. He was human, older, with gray hair and tired eyes. The children whispered nervously, but the human studied the man carefully. He carried no weapons in sight. His ship's engines were running, ready to fly. The silver-marked boy whispered, "Is it safe?" The human shook his head. "Safe? No, but it may be our only chance." They approached slowly. The old trader looked up as they entered the firelight. His eyes widened when he saw the children, but he quickly hid his reaction behind a smile. "Well now," he said in a rough voice. "What's this? A lost man and 4 little stars? Not often I see company out here." The human kept his hand near a stolen knife, cautious. "We need passage off this world. Hunters are after us." The trader nodded, poking the fire with a stick. "I've seen them. Ugly lot, those hunters. Dangerous too. But you're lucky you found me. My ship can take you far away. Safe skies. For a price, of course." The human's jaw tightened. "We have nothing to pay." The trader studied the children again, his smile thin. "I don't want credits. Sometimes kindness is enough. Sometimes helping others is its own reward." The children's eyes brightened with hope. The youngest girl whispered, "He wants to help us." The human was not so quick to believe, but the children needed rest, food, and a way off the planet. He gave a slow nod. "Fine, we'll take your ship." That night, for the first time in days, they ate warm food and slept without fear. The trader told stories of his youth, of stars he had crossed, of dangers he had escaped. His voice was calm, almost fatherly. The human stayed awake, watching, listening. Something about the man's eyes unsettled him. They were kind on the surface, but sharp beneath, like a predator waiting for the right moment. Morning came. The trader led them to his ship. Its ramp lowered with a hiss of steam. The children's faces lit with smiles. Finally, escape. But as they stepped aboard, the human's gut twisted. The walls of the ship felt wrong. Too clean, too prepared. Then he saw it, hidden behind a panel, a small red light blinking. A signal. The human froze. His blood turned cold. He spun on the trader, his hand on his knife. "You called them, didn't you?" The trader's smile widened, sharp as broken glass. "Of course I did. Do you have any idea what those children are worth? Millions of credits, enough to live like a king until I die." The children gasped, their faces pale with horror. The youngest girl clutched the human's arm, trembling. The human snarled. "You sold them out," the trader shrugged. "Don't judge me. Any man would do the same. You think you're their protector? You'll be dead before the day ends, but me? I'll be rich." Engines roared outside. The ground shook as hunter ships descended from the sky, their shadows covering the valley. Red lights flashed through the trees. The trap was complete. The children's eyes filled with tears. They turned to the human, fear written across their glowing faces. The oldest boy whispered, "What do we do?" The human's hand tightened on his knife. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "We fight, we run, we survive." The trader stepped back, smirking, as hunters poured into the valley. Their armored boots thundered against the earth. Blasters lit up the air with deadly red beams. The human pushed the children behind him, his eyes blazing with defiance. "Stay close." The first hunter charged. The human met him head-on, driving the knife into a gap in the armor. Sparks flew. The hunter fell with a metallic scream. Chaos erupted. The golden-eyed boy shouted warnings, sensing attacks before they came. The silver-marked boy healed cuts as fast as they appeared. The youngest girl's light blinded hunters in the mist, and the quiet boy with the black shard filled the valley with illusions, phantom soldiers that confused and slowed the enemy. The human fought like a man possessed, every strike fueled by fury. Not just at the hunters, but at the betrayal. Above the noise, the trader shouted at the hunters, pointing at the children. "There, take them!" But the children didn't run to him. They ran to the human, clinging to him, trusting him. The trader's smile faltered. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. The human glared at him, his voice a growl. "You'll never have them." And with the hunters closing in, the human realized something. Betrayal was not the end. It was only the beginning of the war. Blaster fire tore through the valley. Trees exploded into splinters, rocks shattered, and the ground burned where energy bolts struck. Hunters advanced in a wall of steel and red light, their voices mechanical, their steps unshaken. The human pushed the children behind a boulder. His knife was small compared to the hunter's weapons, but his eyes burned with fire. "Stay down," he shouted. The children crouched low, fear glowing in their wide eyes. But the silver-marked boy placed a hand on the man's arm. "You are not alone. Let us help." The human hesitated for a breath. Then he nodded. "Fine, but stay close." The fight began. The first hunter lunged forward, blaster raised. The human rolled to the side, grabbed a fallen branch and jammed it into the hunter's helmet. Sparks flew. Before the machine-like soldier could recover, the man's knife struck deep into the armor's weak point. The hunter dropped, crashing into the dirt. Another hunter fired. The youngest girl cried out, raising her small, glowing hands. A bright flash exploded from her palms, blinding the hunter. The bolt missed, striking a rock instead. The human grinned fiercely. "Good work, little star." The golden-eyed boy shouted suddenly, his voice sharp. "Left side. They are coming fast." The human spun just in time, shoving the children aside as two hunters flanked them. He kicked one into the fire pit, then used the flames to his advantage. He grabbed a burning log and swung it like a weapon, smashing the other across the faceplate. The armor cracked and the hunter fell, but there were too many. Drones buzzed overhead, painting the ground with targeting beams. Energy blasts rained down, shaking the valley. The children screamed, shielding their heads. The quiet boy stepped forward, clutching his black shard. His voice was low, calm. "Stay behind me." The shard pulsed, and suddenly the valley filled with phantoms, dozens of glowing soldiers appearing from the mist. They charged at the hunters, their battle cries echoing like thunder. The hunters froze, confused. They fired wildly at the illusions, wasting precious shots. The real children slipped away in the chaos, guided by the human. The traitors, still watching from the ship ramp, shouted in anger. "Fools, they're not real. The children are there, stop them." The hunters adjusted, turning toward the humans' group again. Blaster fire ripped past. The silver-marked boy pressed his hands to the human's shoulder where a bolt had grazed him. Warmth spread, the wound sealing instantly. The human hissed in pain, then blinked in shock. "You really can fix anything, can't you?" The boy's expression was calm, but his voice carried quiet pride. "As long as you keep fighting, I will keep you standing." The human tightened his grip on the knife. "Then let's finish this." They fought together, the youngest girls light-blinded hunters, forcing them to miss their shots. The golden-eyed boy called out warnings, guiding the human away from danger seconds before it came. The quiet boy's illusions made enemies stumble and waste time, seeing threats that weren't there. And the human, he moved like a storm. He stole weapons from fallen hunters, using their own blasters against them. He set traps with the environment, knocking rocks loose to crush enemies, using fire and smoke to cover their escape. Every moment was chaos, but every moment, they survived. The traitor's face twisted with rage as his plan collapsed. "No, you belong to me." "You are my fortune." He rushed forward, pulling a concealed blaster from his coat. The human saw him and snarled. "You betrayed us. You don't get another chance." Before the traitor could fire, the quiet boy raised his shard. Illusions wrapped around the traitor, making him scream. He dropped his weapon, clawing at the air as visions of fire and shadows consumed his mind. The human didn't waste time. He grabbed the children and pulled them toward the forest edge. But just as they reached the trees, a massive shape dropped from the sky. A hunter commander, towering and armored in black steel. His voice rumbled like thunder. "You cannot run forever. Hand them over." The human raised his stolen blaster, his body shaking with exhaustion, but his voice steady. "Come and take them." The commander charged, and the ground shook. The human fired shot after shot, but the armor held. The children screamed. Then the silver-marked boy stepped forward, glowing with light. He placed both hands on the human's back, pouring every ounce of his energy into him. The human felt it, a surge of strength, speed, clarity. His body felt alive, unstoppable. The commander swung a massive blade, but the human ducked, rolled, and fired into the weak points of the armor. Sparks burst, cracks spread. He leapt forward, driving the knife deep into the commander's chest plate. The giant staggered, roaring, then collapsed to the ground. Silence followed. The valley was littered with broken hunters, smoke rising into the sky. The children stared at the human with awe, their small faces glowing with new hope. The youngest girl whispered, "You saved us again." The human wiped sweat and blood from his face, breathing hard. His voice was rough but steady. "No, we saved each other. The golden-eyed boy nodded slowly. Together we can fight back. The human looked at them. 4 fragile lives, yet stronger than any army he had ever known. For the first time he believed it. But as he scanned the horizon, he saw more ships in the distance, more hunters. The fight was not over. He clenched his fists. Let them come, because now he wasn't running. Now they were fighting back. The smoke of battle still hung in the valley. Broken hunters lay scattered across the dirt, sparks rising from their ruined armor. The children huddled close to the human, their glowing eyes wide with both fear and hope. For a moment there was silence. A fragile silence like the world itself was holding its breath. Then a shadow fell over them. A massive ship descended from the clouds, larger than any hunter craft they had seen before. Its engines thundered like storms. Its metal surface gleamed black, marked with crimson symbols of blood and war. The ground shook as the ship landed. The ramp opened with a hiss, and out stepped the leader of the hunters. He was tall, wrapped in armor of steel and bone, his red visor burning like fire. His voice echoed through the valley, calm but heavy with power. Human, children, you have fought well, but this ends now. The human raised his stolen blaster, though his arms trembled with exhaustion. He had no strength left, but his spirit burned bright. You'll have to kill me first. The hunter leader tilted his head, almost amused. That can be arranged. But why die for them, human? You do not know them. They are not your blood, not your kind. Hand them to me, and I will make you rich beyond measure. Millions of credits. A ship of your own. Freedom. The children froze. The youngest girl gripped the human's sleeve with trembling fingers. Her voice was soft, desperate. Don't leave us. Please. The human's heart pounded. He could feel the weight of their eyes on him. The weight of the choice. Freedom or loyalty. Wealth or life. He thought of his past. Years of wandering, always alone, chasing credits and survival. A man without ties, without purpose. That was who he had been, but now, 4 small lives looked at him as if he was their world. He lowered the blaster only for a moment. His silence made the children's faces pale with fear. Even the hunter leader leaned forward, sensing victory. Choose wisely, human, the leader said coldly. Riches and survival, or death with children who cannot save you. The human closed his eyes, breathing deep. Then he spoke, his voice steady, unshaken. Credits mean nothing. I've had nothing my whole life, and I survived. But them? They are more than credits. They are more than weapons. They are life, and I don't leave life behind. The children gasped softly, hope flooding their eyes. The hunter leader growled, Fool, then you will die with them. He raised his weapon, a massive energy blade glowing red. Hunters poured from the ship, dozens more than before. The human gritted his teeth. He stood tall, placing himself between the children and the enemy. Stay behind me, he ordered. But the children stepped forward too. The silver-marked boy's voice was strong. No, we fight together. The golden-eyed boy closed his eyes, feeling the future unfold. We have one chance. If we move now, we can reach the ship. The quiet boy lifted his black shard. I can blind them with illusions. Make them chase ghosts. The youngest girl raised her glowing hands. And I will bring light, enough to guide us through the dark. The human looked at them, pride and fear mixing in his chest. Then let's end this. Together. The battle erupted. Illusions of entire armies appeared, storming across the valley. The hunters fired wildly, chasing shadows. The youngest girl lit the ground, blinding their enemies with bursts of brilliance. The silver-marked boy healed wounds as fast as they came, his energy burning brighter than ever. The golden-eyed boy shouted warnings, guiding the human away from every deadly strike, and the human himself fought like a storm. He struck with fury, each blow fueled by love for the children. He had no credits, no power, but he had something the hunters could never buy: unbreakable will. Step by step, they pushed forward. Through fire, through smoke, through blood. At last they reached the hunter leader's ship. The human slammed the ramp controls, forcing it open. He shoved the children inside. The leader roared, charging forward. His blade cut through the air, striking the human's chest. The man cried out, blood spilling, but he stood his ground. He looked back at the children, forcing a smile despite the pain. Fly, get out of here. The silver-marked boy shook his head, glowing hands pressed to the wound. No, we will not leave you. The human's vision blurred, but warmth spread through him as the boy poured healing energy into his body. Slowly, the pain eased, the wound closing. The human gasped, alive again. He gripped the blaster, turned, and fired point-blank into the leader's chest. The armor cracked. Sparks flew. The leader staggered, roaring in rage. The human snarled through his teeth. "You want them? You'll have to go through me every time." With a final shot, the hunter leader collapsed, his blade falling to the ground. Silence. The hunters still outside hesitated, their leader fallen. The illusion swirled around them like ghosts. Confused and broken, they retreated back into the mist. The human stumbled into the ship, collapsing near the children. The youngest girl wrapped her glowing arms around him, tears falling. "You stayed. You didn't leave us." He held her gently, his voice rough but soft. "I told you. I don't leave life behind." The ship's engines roared to life. The children guided it into the stars, leaving the burning valley far behind. As they vanished into space, the human looked at them. 4 fragile lives, 4 powerful souls. Not his blood, not his kind, but now, his family. And he whispered, more to himself than to them, "The galaxy may hunt us, but now then we hunt back."